Now.
It's time to go!
Well, there you go. It's time to go. And here we are. Good evening to everyone. And welcome to Mind Matters, our Sunday 7 o'clock, where we can get to talk about, mental health matters and maybe people that are going through things might want to have a chat online. Hopefully, we'll be hearing from you today. But before we go any further, we will be discussing the 6 stages of grief and looking at affirmations and seeing how you're doing, Alex, and seeing if there's anything else, that everyone wants to discuss. But moving along, Alex de Silva, our resident expert. Thanks again for coming on, mate. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm good, man. Good to see everyone who's coming on live as well. Yeah, good. Yeah, it's been a good week. So yeah, looking forward to this, mate. I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to these Sunday sessions.
It seems a bit bizarre that we're saying we're looking forward to going through the 6 stages of grief today, but
yeah,
we're going to look at it from a positive perspective, everyone. So obviously, without further ado, we've got our main man, Claude. He looks like he's tucking into something nice and tasty. How you doing, Claude?
How are you, everyone? Hello. Thank you for coming on again, Alex. Thank you so much for your time and everything. And nice to see you again. I hope you've had a good week. There's some noise going on in the background. Where's that coming from?
Not sure. Is anyone else hearing it? No.
I can hear some noise in the background. Maybe it's only just me. All right. But nice to have you back, Alex, and hope you had a great week, mate.
Thank you. It's been good, bro.
And finally, our fellow Banster on the top right-hand corner. I think everyone's got him on the top right-hand corner. And the only one who's got green screen and showing off, it's Terry.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in the comments. And Alex, great to have you back again for the 3rd week running. Nothing but positives in the comments we've had. So it's great to have you back on. And obviously, Lev opened the show. Well done, mate.
So, boys, basically what I wanted to do first is this is relatively new for all of us. So I wanted to get us used to sort of, how you doing, Seamus? How you doing, Joe? All you boys and girls. I wanted to get us used to following up on things that we said we were going to do from the last weeks and the weeks before. So, for example, Alex, you suggested getting up in the morning, no matter how you're feeling, no matter how many drinks you've had, no many Stellas and all of that, and getting up and still saying to yourself, I'm so happy to be here, gonna have a great day today, etc. I wanted to catch up with everyone in the chat and in here to see if everyone's been doing that. Omar, how you doing, mate? So firstly, before we go on to the 6 stages of grief and all that, the affirmations. I have been doing it. I have been getting up despite my crappy mood sometimes and feeling, it's just like Groundhog Day. And I've been telling myself I'm going to have another amazing day, which generally means walk the dog, maybe pop to the shops and get back safely without corona. So I've had an amazing week in that aspect. Anyone else in here been doing that? And I'd love to hear anyone from the chats. Has anyone been doing affirmations and meditations? Over to you, boys. Starting with Alex. We know you do it. Right? So, Terry, have you been doing anything new?
Yeah, just drinking because I've had 4 days off, so I've enjoyed it, mate. Do you know what I mean? So
I don't. Addiction shows a couple of weeks away.
I know, mate. No, what can I say? As I've been saying to a lot of people, I've been working, so it hasn't been too bad for me. I haven't been cooped up indoors or caged like a caged animal, like some people feel, especially like Claude, who's in a studio sort of flat and can't really move about in a big house and that. So for me personally, I haven't really needed to done that or do that. As I said, I've just enjoyed having a couple of drinks and not having to drive overnight. So for me, it's been, quite relaxing. So, yeah, Sorry, not really much.
In short, Alex, he's not following any of your advice, mate. I just want
Basically.
swiftly moving on. Claude, have you taken anything from the last couple of weeks and maybe been sort of putting that into your everyday life?
Yeah, I've been trying to be. I've tried to stay positive, but then I get a phone call from my dad that's not very well at the moment, and then it's just the sleeping patterns that are still getting me at the moment. I'm still getting really bad sleeping patterns where I'm sitting on my laptop till about 2 o'clock in the morning. Then I'm going to bed, waking up at 5, sitting up for about an hour, and then going back to bed again, and then getting up at 11, and then at 2 o'clock I feel tired and want to go back to bed. It's the sleeping patterns that's doing me at the moment.
That's a good point, mate. I'm having that. I'm sure a lot of people are having that. You know, going to bed really late, getting up late. It's almost like people subconsciously are thinking got nothing to really get up for in the morning. Sorry, Claude, didn't mean to interrupt you there, mate. Come on, carry on.
No, it's just also, you know what it is? I think another thing that's getting me, it's just worry now because you see so many people now falling, dying, and even people that you know that you've been that you know quite well actually suffering with this illness at the moment and are in hospital. And do you think to myself, are you going to be the next one? And you don't know where. It's like you're waiting for it to happen. You're going to be, you know. Do you know what? Do you understand where I'm coming from? You're waiting for that little cough that you get. I get now and again. Is it going to develop into a bigger cough and things like that? That's the worry.
So a little bit. Do you know? So some people could actually be suffering some form of being sort of hypochondriacs in a way, because what's stopping us thinking that? I mean, I'm sure if anyone gets a bit of a chesty cough right now, are they thinking the worst? Very quickly, I was going to touch on this. BS has mentioned something. Claude once called DT out or something or other for talking any old crap on podcasts, but then redeemed himself by saying these mental health podcasts aside. So BS is suggesting that doing mental health podcasts is a good thing. So I appreciate that. People are commenting about routines, Al. I don't mind being stuck indoors, but miss football. Others are saying there's no routine. That's what's killing them. How do these people, I mean, not many people were mentioned in their affirmations, so clearly people still need to practice. But how do people cope without a set routine? And how do they go about trying to sort of implement a set routine?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, man. I think it's the simplest way to put it is just getting up and committing to yourself to do it. Is holding yourself accountable. That's the thing, because it's so easy, you know, to blame the world for everything that's going on. Is to say, oh, you know, it's the coronavirus, you know, the crisis in the world. Oh, you know, there is, you know, the economy has gone down. I've lost my fucking job. You know, this has happened. And I'm like, but what's that got to do with you? Do you know what I mean? Because we're all going through it. It's not just one person. It's not just you. It's not just me. There are billions of people around the world that are going through exactly the same thing. And here's the thing. Why is it that some people were able to just put new routine? Terry mentioned it. Lev, you mentioned it. There are other people on there that are doing the same. I've had to do exactly the same. You know, I've had to literally change my business like that overnight. Otherwise, I'm going to go under. So it's not like, oh, you've been doing this for years. That's bollocks, because that's another excuse. So it's literally use that survival mode. You either fight or fly, and that's the two. And the people that kind of go into flight are the ones that go, oh, you know, look at what's going on. What am I going to do? Oh, and then what do? You hide under the table. You just kind of hide, and you know, you go into that panic mode, which is so easy to do. And it's completely normal, by the way, guys. It's completely normal to do that. And I'll explain with the stuff that we're going to talk about today. I'll explain. I have, still my mind is still programmed because, I'm human at the end of the day. And this will affect every single one of us. But the difference is I set every single person one task. And I guarantee you, probably 99% of people didn't do it. And the reason being is I can scream until I'm absolutely blue in the face and turn around and say to people, this is what's going to help you. This is what you've got to do. It's been proven. Go and research it yourself. Google will even tell you. There are hundreds of researchers on all of this stuff that I teach people. But here's the thing. You cannot drag a horse to water and make it drink. It's exactly the same with all of this stuff. So if your routine has gone out of the window, well, so's Lev, so's Steve, so's Claude, so's mine. So what do you do? Just create something new. When I saw somebody post on it, well, there's nothing to do. It's bollocks. There's tons to do. Because I guarantee you, even I saw, I think it was Kirk who said there's nothing to do. And I'm like, of course there is, man. I've seen you're sat in a car. Go for a drive. Some people love to go for a walk for an hour. Go drive for an hour. Do you see what I mean? Like, go and get some fresh air. Create something new. Because if you're still stuck in the old mindset that I can't do the things that I was able to prior, well, of course you're not going to, because that's what's changed. And this is the thing. All it is just adapting. Just adapt to the situation and just do something else. What else do you like doing? I talked about this last week and I'll mention it very clear again. Go for a walk. Go and, go for a run. Go and do some exercise. Your body is the best thing you can use to exercise with. You don't need machines. You don't need weights. You don't need any of that stuff. You can still go out and do things. Go and pick up a book.
Quick one for me, Al. Sugary snacks and snacks at home.
Oh,
I
can understand where you're coming from. I'd love to go out. I'd love to go out and walk, but people are not abiding with this 2 meter rule around here. This is the problem. I mean, I'm not stopping me from going out.
Yeah,
I need a 2 meter rule around my
No one
food.
is abiding by that rule. And no one is abiding by this 2 meter rule, and this is the problem around here. As much as I want to go and have a walk, I don't trust someone. I don't trust what's going to happen. And I don't know.
To be fair, mate, nine times out of 10, I think with a lot of this stuff, you are allowed to walk past someone. Do you see what I mean? And look, I'm not an expert around the coronavirus, but I'm just using some facts around this stuff, right? People talked about it a number of times.
These are your facts, not mine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. These are my facts, right? And again, you can go and check this out. People are talking about, there's so many different flus, so many other viruses, so many other things that have been, that have killed so many more people each year, and it hasn't stopped us from just getting on with life. Yes, of course, there are people that, unfortunately, aren't going to follow the rules, but it's not about them. Again, what Claude was saying there. You're putting an emphasis on other people, on things that other people are doing, but that's your responsibility. If you keep 2 meter rule from somebody else, like if somebody's driving up your ass, you're going to move, aren't you? And if they want to get past you that much quicker, you want to go and save the world.
Unfortunately,
Alex, sometimes you have to go in the middle of the road to avoid them.
Yeah, I know. It's
the same. Get run over.
It's the same in the supermarket because all this, you got like 40 in, 40 out rubbish in these supermarkets. But when you're actually inside it, everyone's crumbling over each other to get that bloody one pepper or that bloody potato. Do you know what I mean? No, well, there's been a few times where we've had to tell people to move away from us. Especially when we go shopping, you know what I mean? Me and the missus, we're telling people to move away from us. You're supposed to be 2 meters apart. Just because you're inside the shop doesn't mean you're allowed then to be in contact with each other. I don't understand.
Terry's been going out with pepper spray, Al. Pepper spraying anyone that's not 2 meters or more away from it.
You know what them bicycle riders have? They've got that little stick, and then they put it out when you go past them to see if you're that far away with the car and that.
Oh right, I thought you were pretending for a minute, having a stick and whacking people. Look, at the end of the day, I think what Al's saying is, look. When we're going through bad times, it's so easy to focus on other people and the exterior of what's going on outside of yourself. It's easy to look to blame people, isn't it? When you're in a bad place, you'll look to blame, and we'll discuss that in the 6 stages of grief, because I did that. I'm just looking at some of the chats in here, and people are a lot of people are saying people need to respect the rules. Some are saying they're just suffering from bipolar depression. This virus is causing chaos with that issue. Look, anyone got an issue they want to discuss, this hour or so that we do, that's what it's for. If you feel like something's going to help, we will try and stop a conversation mid-flow and get Alex or whoever to try and answer. But what I want to do is try and keep it on topic if we can. I know it's not easy with us, but we'll try. So moving on to the 6 stages of grief topic. It was funny when you sent it to me a few days back, Al, because I looked at it, and for the first time, how you doing, Lucy? If we point the finger, how many are pointing back at us? Yes, Mum. So basically, when I looked at this list of 6 stages of grief, it was the first time it actually stood out to me, and I could actually look at it and go, wow, these were those moments. I could actually reflect back. So I thought what I wanted to do is share a little bit about what happened to me. And if anyone else wants to do that in it, I think it's important to show that we're open enough to discuss our problems, right? That's the whole point of this show. It does worry you sometimes when you're doing it on social media, but at the end of the day, especially with lads, guys in general, our problem is we don't talk enough. So I'm going to crack on very briefly about what happened with my situation, so we could go through those 6 stages.
Do you want me to go through? Do you want me to just quickly go through the 6 stages, and then you go and explain, so then it makes more sense to people?
If that's how you think works better, mate, you're a bit more sort of knowledgeable on that. We'll do that.
Yeah.
So go through the stages.
Because it would just give people a bit of an understanding to where we're going to go with it. Yeah. So listen, guys, quick background on this stuff. I was talking to the guys earlier, and Lucy and I were having a chat just through the week, and I keep an eye on everything that's happening, part of my job and what we do, in trying to help people. And one of the things that I've noticed, including myself, I started looking at me and then started to see patterns of behavior, and started to realize what's currently going around in the world, like what's going on at the moment, the patterns of people's behaviors, literally from when we got the news to present day. And I started doing some research just to try to find out what's going on, and I've realized that what we're currently going through at the moment, you can brand this however you like, so I'm just kind of using it as the form, is we're currently going through a grieving process. And I'll explain the grieving process, not as in, somebody's died. Of course, there is going to be some people here who, family, friends, so on and so forth, they've either died from the coronavirus, or they've also may have passed through, other causes as well. Through life, people die every single day. And because of what's happened, I did a little bit of research around this as well. And what I've realized is we go through these stages when we also experience any form of trauma. Lucy and I were having a conversation. We're very open about it. So we're both in recovery for, various forms of addiction. And when Lucy went into recovery, she was explaining to me that she went through this stuff. I went through it. And when I sent it to Lev, he then said to me, wow, I went through this as well. So what I always when I look at these things, which I'll share with you now, is I always look at it, okay, so why do I need to know this information? Then I turn it into a positive. So I mentioned to you guys before about learning, growing, and developing. This is what this is going to help you do, is to continuously learn, grow, and develop. Because as long as you've got breath in your body and you can wake up every day, this is the opportunity that you can just teach yourself something else that's new that can just help you to get through life in a more positive way. So I'll go through it, right? So the first stage that we often go through when, in trauma, any kind of bad experience, or grief, so let's cover all of it, so kind of keep your mind very open, is shock. And how many of us, and I'm sure it's not just us in the live group, there'll be people here all over the world who experience the same thing. So the first stage is shock, and I can go through it in more detail after. The second stage is denial and isolation. That's the second thing. Thirdly is anger and resentment. That's one of the stages that we go through as well. And think about this, from the day that we got the news to current day, did you experience this stuff? I know 100% I did. The next one, which actually made me laugh, is bargaining which is also called if only. So I'll give you my if only. I said to my coach, because I've been training to compete and stuff like that in CrossFit, and I said to him, well, if only we can keep the gym open, just for a few of us, and we can keep the 2 meter distance, it will be all right, won't it? Lucy will comment, and I'll guarantee she'll laugh because she knows it's true.
I guarantee that as well. She will comment on it.
She will comment on it. So we all have these if onlys, and how many people Claude even mentioned on there? Look, if only I just walk past somebody, and people not keeping the distance, right? So they're always going to be bargaining reasons. The next one is the stage which a lot of people will go through now, and this is where I then started to get worried and started to research, because this is when we go through depression, stress, and anxiety. This is when flight or fight system kicks in, and we start to realize, there's something's wrong here. Wow, what's going on? And we can kind of be all over the place, and from a mental perspective, this can really, really start to affect us. And because this is dragged on, you can even put on the comments there how many of you have been affected by this already. And some of you have already commented already. The last one is acceptance. So acceptance, hope, and rebuilding. But I've kind of added to not just rebuilding, but restructuring, because a few people, Kirk mentioned on there, Gunnar Kirk mentioned about not having anything to do and loving to play football. There's so many people here who love sports, football, their job. Somebody said a few weeks ago that they miss going to work. So that's what the kind of the final stage is. So what I'm going to do now is then Level go through it, and I'm sure all the other guys and people in the comments can go through it as well.
Lucy's put a point up there. I don't understand. Can you explain?
But bargaining is also getting your head stuck in conspiracy theories. It's a need to. So basically, what Lucy is saying is some people getting their head stuck into conspiracy theories. I hope you're not pointing that at me, Lucy, right? But for some, it's a need to try and sort of reason with a situation and find a reason for why it's happening, so then you in turn regain some sort of control, is what I'm guessing she's saying by that. I'm sure if I'm wrong, Lucy will be back onto us. I mean, what I wanted to do there now, very quickly, and I want to touch on the others. I mean, Claude's got his own story and whatever as well. But I mean, looking at these 6 stages of grief, so I looked back and I tried to pinpoint areas in my life that these 6 stages are relevant, right? So, I've had a couple of things happen, like my father's passing. That was a shock. One question I wanted to ask you before I do move on is, do these stages sometimes become stuck if not dealt with? And is it possible to go into stage 4, 5, 6 years down the line because you haven't dealt with stage 1 or 2 earlier on? So hold that thought, yeah, because I want to come back to that, right? I'm going to be digging around. So, my father passed at 50. I move on, right? We hadn't spoken, so there's an issue there that's unresolved, right? I only know all this now because I've been through my thing. So there's that. Initially, it's shock and denial. I think I was stuck on. I was probably stuck on shock and denial. Then I went on to anger with my father, but I didn't do anything. I just moved on with things, right? Then further down the line, 2006, 2007, a lot of people maybe on here will be able to relate. You have a breakup, right? A breakup with somebody you've been with since you were kids. You've got 3 kids with them. Suddenly, you've got nothing. You've waken up. You're at home on your own. Again, shock, denial, and then anger was there for a while. But I think if I'm going to say that the time I went through all 6, and probably a multifaceted layer from the 2 previous situations that were unresolved, which may have had a massive and more of an impact because I hadn't dealt with the other 2, and it sort of peeled away the scabs and revealed the deeper wounds, so to speak. 2014, get a call. You're told by your partner that you still have a close relationship with and 3 kids. There's something that's come up. I've been diagnosed with terminal cancer, stage 4. What do we do? Can you move in? Can you help? You decide, as a person, I'm going to leave a life I built up over 6 years since the breakup. move back in with somebody that you've been away from, that you obviously loved and you was close with, and then over a 6-month period, see them slowly deteriorate and become worse and worse, and you're taking all that on. So then when she passed, I'll have to say, I was definitely in shock because I thought she would get over it, as you always do. No matter how ill somebody is, you think there's that chance they're gonna get better, aren't they? They're gonna get better. So then denial and isolation, because then I was spending a lot of time at home with the kids and just trying to it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. Then I can definitely pinpoint anger and resentment, because you start to get angry and feel resentment, not just for the fact that she's passed and how unfair life is, but then I started looking at resentment for the life I'd lost myself, because suddenly your life's gone. You've gone from, I don't know, 12 years with somebody, 3 kids, suddenly then you've gone through a breakup, then you've gone, I'm going to reset my whole life, go through that grieving process of a relationship and missing your kids, find some normality, stability, build a life elsewhere. I mean, you was there when I was doing it. So suddenly you've got used to this routine after 5 or 6 years. You're all right. You're back in the zone. Then suddenly someone turning around and saying that life's gone and you're back in this situation and you're a single parent. So there was a lot of resentment and anger there. Then bargaining what ifs, if only this didn't happen, if only that didn't happen. You sit there stressing about it. And then it was the depression. It was about a year and a half, 2 years, about 2-3 years into it. Depression hit hard, stress and anxiety. But what the pivotal point I want to try everyone to focus on is there is acceptance, there is hope, and there is rebuilding. So I don't want it to be a morbid conversation here. What I'm trying to say to everyone in here is there is light at the end of the tunnel. I'm proof of it, and I'm sure there's people within here like Claude, which I want everyone to discuss. Omar saying, what was he saying there? For me, the only tragedy I've experienced in my life is the passing of my dad, which I moved on from quickly because me and my dad never had the best of relationships. You know what, Omar? Do not be surprised if that is something that could nip you in the bud later on. So maybe look at that. Keith, be real. I lived at home until the age of 40. My father died. It destroyed me. Keith, I know exactly how you're feeling. So, Al, those are the stages. Is that the similar reflection? Then I want to hear from the boys here with anything they could sort of relate to. I mean, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, 100%, man. You touched on that, and everything that you described. That's exactly what happens to a lot of us. And unfortunately, what we're not ready for are some of these stages, because we go through life. A huge number of us go through life completely oblivious of this stuff, not really understanding, that any of these things are actually happening, because subconsciously we're just trying to get through life. Even Omar mentioned it, you mentioned it yourself, where what you do is you just try to get through it, and a lot of the times what we do, especially men, what we do is we just bottle it up, we file that as deeply as we possibly can, because emotions, as far as we're concerned, is weakness, is, vulnerability, is definitely a no-no. And, all of these, anything to do with kind of showing an emotion, being honest, being vulnerable, none of that's mentioned on here, So what we do instead, because we're not doing that stuff, what then starts to happen is we go into all of these stages. And I'll explain why. So your body is a phenomenal thing. It's an absolutely phenomenal machine. I'm not even talking about the brain. I'm just talking, to actually the whole thing is just absolutely phenomenal. And every some of us tweet better than others. No, but to be fair, we all do. And the reason we go through this stuff, and I think I may have mentioned it before, is your body has a very, very clever way of telling you what's wrong. Has a very, very clever way. The shock system has a very, very way of letting you know, listen, like, this is real, this is happening. And when we go through that process, at first, this is why we go, the denial process, we go into that quite quickly. You know, Omar mentioned it on there, you mentioned it on there, and that's a denial. I went through it when my grandmother passed away. You know, when she passed away, she's someone who was my mum, you know, that Lev. I used to speak to, you know, about her so openly. And the day she died, man, I took the next flight to Brazil, no questions asked. And I just remember turning up the next day and she was already in a coffin. All of a sudden I'm happy and I'm there to see my friends and I'm being there for everybody else. And that shock, you just what you do is you go into survival mode. That's what we go into. So then going into that next stage, which is that denial and isolation, but then all of a sudden we don't want to be, around too many people. We surround ourselves with, very small amount of people, and we go into that denial that everything is okay. Some people go through different ones. People on the chat and people here may experience it in a completely different way. I'll use yourself and Omar because you both had something very similar. You mentioned about not having that relationship with your dad. Well, that's a denial because one of the things he mentioned there was tragedy. Well, if you didn't have a relationship with your dad, it wouldn't have been a tragedy. That's a denial. You're denying the fact that you were
having the relationship part of the next stage of your stage.
Yeah, so what it is what we do, and I'm going to break this bit down. The denial part and the isolation, this is where people go into this quite deep. And you talked about it in relationship as well, Lev, where when we go into that denial, these are the things that we bring up. We talk about, I didn't have the best relationship with them. We were always arguing. Our relationship wasn't the best, or my dad or my girlfriend or whatever it is. And what we do is we go into those things again because we don't want to process the true feelings. You don't want to process the hurt. You don't want to process that pain. So you try to then go into that. No, I moved on really quickly. It was fine. But then what you do is you isolate. And what I mean by isolation, you talked about it, is not talking to anyone about it. You don't tell people what's going on for you. You're not sharing. Actually, do you know what? I didn't have that relationship with listen, I met my dad when my nan died. Never knew the guy. You probably don't even know this, Lev. I actually flew to Brazil. I found out who my real dad was when I met the guy. And I went through this. When I found out, my mum lied to me through my whole life. Because I thought this guy left, and then I made up this story in my head that he died. So I used to tell people, my dad died. Denial. I used to just deny, and then I got angry at him. Used to go, he's a prick, he's a SCUNT, blah, blah. I used to call him anger, resentment. So these are the stages that we go through when we don't want to process something that we need to deal with. That's the process that we go through. But effectively, even if you had a bad relationship with someone, I had a bad relationship with my mum, but I love my mum more than anything. I don't care what anyone says. That's just the fact of the matter. Your parents, people that you're close with, people that are in your network, if you have that bond with someone, even when you don't get on with each other or you don't see each other for a while, same with you and I, Lev, we have that kind of time apart, but every time we come together, it's almost like we just didn't see each other for the weekend because we have that connection with people, and that's what that is. And then it brings us on to the next stage, which is that anger and resentment. People going through that, that's again a natural part of emotion. But why do we go through that? It's because we're not dealing with the top two. So that then comes in, and we start getting resentful, with the person who's passed away. I had a friend who committed suicide. I think Kirk said his brother died of an overdose. I had a friend who committed suicide, and and it's heartbreaking, man, because, for me, I then got angry at her and I said how selfish is, of her to leave her husband and friends and all of these people. It's such a selfish thing to do. And that's my mind. That's what I was thinking. And it wasn't just me. She was like a school friend. So there was a few of us there, went through that same process, exactly the same. But then what we do is we then go into bargaining. We start to bargain and go into the if onlys. Oh man, if only I had that time with them. And think about this, Omar, Lev, and other people on the chat. If you had 60 seconds with somebody that you lost and you fell out with them, you didn't speak to them for years. My grandmother was one of them. I didn't go back to Brazil for 11 years. And then I get a phone call that she died. This is supposed to be the woman that I love more than anything in the world. Lev knows this. More than anything in the world, I get a phone call. All of a sudden, fight or flight kicks in, and I don't care whether, I don't care whether, I get sacked or not, I'm going. and then I'm bargaining after. Oh man, I wish I would have gone to Brazil more. And then I'm bargaining, saying, yeah, I'm going to go again more. I'm going to go again more. Make sure that I get there. Make sure I'm doing things differently. How many of us have done that? I'm going to contact people more often. I'm going to make sure that I make up, those relationships. And and then we fall into that level which you talked about. The depression, the stress, the anxiety. Looking back at life and going through all of that stuff, all of the things that we think we lost, all of the things that we think we've missed out on. But the fact of the matter is when it comes down to life, when it comes down to all of these things that we're going through now, all of the things that have happened in our lives previous to a few hours ago has no relevant meaning. It's gone. It's in the past. Now, the fact of the matter is, and I'll explain why. Is because, and I think I've talked about this before, your body will only experience its true form of emotion for 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Any form of emotion, it will naturally only experience that. And how many people have literally cried or laughed or just loved? And when you really experience that emotion, or you're angry and you're throwing stuff, and all of a sudden you have a pause. Or watch one of your kids throw a tantrum. They'll throw a tantrum and all of a sudden they'll stop. But here's the thing, afterwards, when we learn behaviors as we start to get older and older and older, what we do is we hold on to those things. So what do? We learn to play the movies. And that's what we do. We play the movies of the past. Which are
basically memories, basically, what you're saying. You just keep reliving the bad memories.
Keep reliving those bad memories all the time. We just keep reliving, what if, and this is life, and blah, which is why I say all the time, so passionately, about doing stuff for yourself now. Like, don't worry about the past. Those people were in your lives for a reason. Take that, learn, grow, develop. Take those people, find the most incredible things that you can learn, that you have learned from them, and literally turn those things into a positive. What did you learn from that? What's going to help you grow from that experience? And then how can you develop yourself moving forward? In other words, is how can you pay that forward? Not just to yourself, but then other people as well. That's why people come into our lives.
So we're on depression, stress, and anxiety at the moment, right? Before we crack on to acceptance and hope and all of that, I want to move on to sort of Claude and a couple of and see where they think they're at with things. Before I do that, there's a couple of people that said a few things in there. Don't want to sort of leave out. Snedden, hi Terry, Lev, Claude, Alex. He says some very nice things. Looking forward to he's always looking forward to this segment of the show. For some reason, it's not coming up on mine. And he's basically saying, look, do you think too much of the screen time is bad for us? That's something you can answer maybe a bit further down the line. Melina's telling us about, that she lost someone very close to her. That was very difficult. And Cheddar's as well. He's 26 now, hasn't seen his father, similar to you, Alex, hasn't seen his father since 4. Tracked him down 2 years ago. He called him on Facebook telling him he doesn't want him. Well, Cheddar's, we want you, mate. And I'm sure people around you in your life, have been there for you. So, this is what we're here for. But Terry, I'll be with you in a second. Claude, anything out of these 6 stages that you've seen that Alex has mentioned that sort of ring to you at the moment? And does not just anyone in here, does anyone in the chat group as well think they're going through any of these 6 stages at the moment? Claude?
Well, my stages with, as you know, with my grandchildren and my daughter that I haven't seen for 3.5 years, and there's no peace there at the moment, and no contact, and it does upset me a lot. The only thing I will say with Alex on the meditation side, I don't know when you mean meditation, what do you mean? What do I have to do, like meditation? What do you mean? Is it praying or?
Listen, you can. What I do, my morning practice is I do 10, 15 minutes silent meditation, which is literally, I'll show you. I'm sat already down on a chair. I put my hand on the table or my lap, and that's it. And just close my eyes and breathe.
I think, that. Can you run through a replay, please, Alex?
Yeah, sure.
No,
I'll explain.
Is it
what I mean?
Is it like what I'm saying? Is it like a sleep, or like just switch off completely and think of different things, or what is it? I don't. That's what I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah, no, of course. So all it is you talked about, do I think of other things? Do I sleep or whatever? There you go. It's literally what you want to do. The practice is letting go, just letting go of any form of attachment. And what I mean by attachment is attachment of thoughts, attachments of to-do lists, attachments of things that have happened in the past, attachments of anger, anything that your head is going through, which is at the beginning, your head is just going to go. There's so many things going on because and I know this. I've had, I've worked with men and kind of taught them about meditation and going through this process, and at the beginning it's always the same. It's always the same. It feels weird because your mind almost feels like it's just going. But I'll explain it like this. All you have to do, as I said, is literally just sit down, feet on the ground, hand on your lap, and close your eyes. And then the best thing to do, as Sneddon mentioned on there, is about focusing on your breath. And the easiest way to do it is just because it's so here it is. So focus on the breathing going in. And kind of it goes, and then follow the breath where it goes. So it kind of goes in through your nose, into your lungs, and then it comes back out and then into your nose. And literally follow every single step where that goes. And for some people, they feel it on their lips. Some people feel it on their nose. Well, man, it's up to you, Ricardo. It's
cheating. That is cheating. Ricardo's going to stage 6 with one joint. That's what he's doing. But anyway.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And it's just practice, Claude. Do you know what the best thing to do is just grab your phone and set a timer. Just set a timer for start at 3 minutes. 3 minutes, and then just do that. Close your eyes and just breathe and just focus. Simply just follow your breath for 3 minutes. Your head's going to go off and it's going to try and, and try to kind of take you everywhere else, because at the moment you don't have control of your mind. Your mind has control of you. So it's doing all the thinking for you. When you start to take control back of your mind, your body, your spirit, you literally then, you're the one doing the thinking. And have you ever, and here's an example, when sometimes we just sit there and we're like looking up in the air and we're just, our minds are completely gone. And all of a sudden you go, shit, I've got stuff to do. And you've just come straight back in, your mind goes quiet, doesn't it? It's exactly the same.
When you're not trying, but you can't do it when you, and what I've always been told is you got to think of nothing. Literally, you need to empty your mind. Terry.
I can't do that.
Terry can't do that. Terry can't empty his mind. Apparently.
I can't.
It's not about emptying the mind, guys. Let me just explain that. It's not about emptying the mind. That's a very false reality. Unless you're Buddha, that's not going to happen. But here's the thing that what you will notice: the more and more you do this stuff, what you will start to notice, it's almost like if you're in a restaurant or you're in a nightclub or you're out somewhere. I know at the moment it's hard to kind of picture because we're all stuck at home. But for example, just imagine there are people next door and you can hear them quietly whispering or quietly talking. That's how it will start to feel. Eventually, that loud noise that's in your head will start to then become less and less and less. The reason being is, as Lev said, is you're letting go. You're not kind of attaching to the thought. You're almost doing it without having to think about it. It becomes, which is why I mentioned before, everything, if you do something every single day for 30 days, you then start to create a new habit, because your body then starts to reprogram and starts to say, this is what you want me to do. So doing it a day here, a day there, you're not going to get any benefit from it because you're not doing it long enough for it to start taking effect. It's the same with the affirmation, the same with the gratitude. One of the things, and I'll end it on this, Claude, what really, really helped me as well is by doing the breathing, when you've got your eyes closed, breathe in 1 and then 2 on the way out. And then just go up to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up to 10. And if you all of a sudden you get attached to your thought, go back and then start again. 1, 2, up to 10. And when you get to 10, go back to 1. The reason you do that is, again, you're focusing, you're learning to just focus your mind on something. And the mind, as Kirk just mentioned there, the mind is going to race to start with. It's like when a baby pops out, baby just all of a sudden doesn't start walking. But babies don't care. They don't attach to these things, these principles, and all of these labels. Like kids don't. I watch my daughter now, and she has no attachment to things. She falls down, she cries. As I said, she will experience that full emotion, whether she's angry, she screams, whatever it is, or she's happy. She goes back to doing something else because she's just in the present moment, and that's what it is. Which sounds so weird now because it's something that we've always lived in. But all of a sudden, trying to do something that should be so natural to us seems impossible. So don't worry about shutting the head off, because that's never going to happen. It's just having something for you to focus on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Al. I mean, look,
Try that
what
one.
we
I will
do,
try that one.
yeah, try that, Claude. We'll have to. We'll test you again next week. See if you've been doing it. What I want to do is, as I said before, I want to find out if there's anyone in the groups that are going through these 6 stages, not necessarily because someone's passed away, but maybe because of what's been going on. If there's anyone struggling, let us know. Also, I mean, the reason for obvious reasons, these 6 stages of grief are really important at this moment is there are people, unfortunately, passing away due to Corona, but also there's people passing away for just natural causes, but you can't get to them due to Corona. You can't visit people. You can't, you could be guilt that you haven't visited somebody and they've passed away during that period. You've got that element there. You've got the element that someone has passed and you haven't sort of managed to grieve properly and say goodbye properly, closure, because you're not able to attend the funeral, because funerals, again, for obvious reasons, we can't go to. So are there people out there at the moment? What I want to ascertain is, are there people out there going through these things right now? If there are, give us a shout. Are anyone in here going through things? Go on, Terry.
Sorry, man, I was just going to say, what I've seen on Twitter in the last couple of days is there's a lot of resentment to Ross Kemp. I don't know if you've seen it.
Ooh.
Because
Yeah,
he's been allowed to film in these hospitals, and yet loved ones are not allowed in to see their relatives and that. Do you know what I mean? So
that's a massive point, Terry. Yeah, that is a massive point. Why people? But then, is that part of what everyone's going through right now? In the sense of they're looking to blame somebody else because they're going through. Is that all of us going? That's not fair. Why is he doing that? Where he could argue the case, he's just trying to highlight a serious matter, and that's what journalists do, and he's taking the risk to do it. Or is it that he, it is unfair? So that's a really good point, Terry. I mean, that could just be our own perception.
First of all, everyone is having a go at Ross Kemp, but I don't blame Ross Kemp if he's asked to do it and he's done it on his own accord. It's the people that have allowed him to do it in the first place that are to blame. So it's not Ross Kemp. If they've asked him to come there and he's done that, that's their problem. He shouldn't. He's like everyone else. If, as you say, a family member can't go and see someone, why is he allowed to see a patient? You know what I mean? But that's not all down to him. That's down to the people that allowed that to happen. I don't think it's right that you should have one, or as you say, one rule, like one rule for one and one. It's like you're, how is it? You're not actually following the rules. You're because you're a celebrity, you can go in, so you can break the rules. It doesn't seem right to me. But
this shows how wrong this system is at the moment in this country. This clearly states, and I don't know enough about it, but that just shows how bad the system in this country is. Do you see what I mean? You know, and Omar said he was going to duck. Omar, stick around, dude. Don't go. If you're kind of experiencing stuff, you better to kind of stick here and just stay, and we'll look after you.
Go through it.
Go through it. Trust me. Go through this stuff, man. It's really powerful what you're going through, and trust me, go through it. Put everything that you're experiencing on the chat. If anyone's struggling emotionally, go through it on a chat. And one of the things that I will do, and I'm sure Lucy will have no issues with this as well, if anybody is struggling emotionally through this, because this is going to bring up a lot of stuff for people, we are more than happy to give you some coaching, some therapy and stuff like that through it for free. We're doing weekly sessions every Tuesday that you guys can jump on, and we can help you to go through this stuff. So please don't go through this stuff on your own. Brilliant. The reason we're doing this is to help you guys, and now more than ever, we'd be more than happy to, you know, to go through this stuff with you guys. And listen, stuff like that, like you guys mentioned, man, a celebrity being allowed to go into the hospital when, you know, family members aren't allowed to go and visit somebody. You know, this is what I keep trying to kind of get out into the world with people, is that, you know, we need to think differently from these people. I said this the other day, and I actually posted something earlier on today on the Happy as Larry group Twitter, to say, you know, people talk about the 1%ers, the richest people in the world. You know, these people run the world, blah 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 blah. And listen, if you take a step back, there is 1% of people who are the richest people in the world, and they've got, you know, 99% of the wealth that runs this world, right? And you've got 1% of people that will always have something shit or dumb to say. There's always 1% of these people. And there is also 1% of people who are optimistic to the day that they die. And they will shout and scream this stuff till they're blue in the face. And listen, look at some of the biggest names in the world, some of the most inspirational people in the world. You know, there is a small amount of these pockets of these people around. And I'm one of these people, do you know what I mean? And I'm gonna shout this shit until I explode, until I take my last breath, because the more and more people can get with just changing that mentality. And the reason they do this stuff as well, the media, they work with some of the best psychologists on the planet and some of the best marketing people on the planet. They already got us under isolation, right? They're already getting us to do all of these things which are completely out of our comfort zones. And whether people like to admit it or not, we are vulnerable right now. We are vulnerable. I spoke to my parents this morning. The first thing my mum said is, oh, they're coming up with the vaccine. I went, do not take the vaccine. Do not take the vaccine. Because, listen, again, I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not telling anybody else what to do here. So I'm going to make that disclaimer right now. You know, there are so many things around these vaccines and things that they put in them. And here's the thing. Google this as well, right? I watched, and I can post a link. I'll find the video and I'll post it to you guys so you can see it yourselves. The #1 killer in the world, on the planet, scientifically proven, they've done tests around this, they've done tons of research. The #1 thing that kills people is not the disease itself, it's the stuff that they take for it. I repeat again, the #1 thing that kills people on the planet is not diseases, it's the stuff that they take for it. And then below that, you've got like health, and you've got getting hit by a car, airplanes, and all of this other stuff. And this is what I'm trying to say to you know, which is what I always try to explain and teach people, is listen, look after your mind, your body, and your spirit, because this is the stuff that keeps you healthy. Do you know what I mean? This is the kind of stuff that's going to keep you alive, you know. And getting bogged down into this stuff, all they are doing is they're just dragging you further and further and further down into this, you know, into this unfortunate rabbit hole.
Sounds like another show. There's a few bizarre comments in here as well, which I do want to try and keep it a little bit lighthearted as well. Keith Be Real. Want to hear something bizarre? He is very stressful. It's bizarre but very stressful for me. I'm addicted since age 8 to drinking milk. Must have a very good bone structure and pretty pale skin color as well, I'm guessing. Gave me type 2 diabetes. Do you know what?
Sugar, mate.
You know what? I do want to touch. We might do another show out. Diet, how it affects your mental well-being as well as your health. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's massive. Melina's got some lovely things to say about us. Thanks, Melina. It hasn't gone unnoticed, and I'm glad we're helping you get through all of this. So look, I mean, I'm guessing what would be an experience is to try. Obviously, Claude, I'll ask you a question, mate. You've gone through your own thing. Do you think you've been through, based on what Al's saying? Do you think you've been through these 6 stages, or do you think you're still potentially going through 6 stages or part of one of these phases?
I don't even think I've gone through stage 1 yet, mate, to be honest with you.
So you don't think you've got through the shock of your situation?
Hey?
You don't think you've actually gone through the shock of your situation at the moment? You're still sort of walking around a bit sort of in a daze kind of thing still?
I'm in a daze in what's happening to me at the moment, and I feel at the moment, and I try to be. Sometimes I laugh and joke, and sometimes I think I'm hiding a lot of shit. If you understand what I'm saying, I don't think I'm over it. I think I've been really down from a long time, from even from maybe in the late 90s. I've never been, but then probably in the late 90s, I've never really noticed it. You know, when you can be depressed but not knowing that you're depressed. Do you know what you can? Do you know where I'm coming from here?
Yeah.
And even then, and then when my mum died as well, because my mum was like a rock for me. My father and my mum separated after when I was about 12 or 13, and although I have I've got a lot of time for my dad now, we didn't have the greatest of relationships at first. I didn't like what he done to my mum at the time. I thought it was. I don't want to go into it, but she was really, really down, and when she really needed him, he was a bit naughty. Let's put it that way. And we're all right now, and we get on, but we get on quite well now. But it's with this thing with my daughter as well. Happening with my daughter and my grandchildren, I haven't seen since the summer of 2016. So it's about nearly 4 years now, coming up to 4 years. It's not been good for me. It's not been good. I try to hide it. I try to hide it with a bit of humour here and there.
Yeah.
But I don't feel as if I'm recovered. I don't feel. And as you say, I don't think I've gone past the first stage. Never mind 6 stages. Hopefully one day I'll get through it all, and who knows? But I think a lot of it as well is that I'm going from a situation where I'm in a 3-bedroom house with and now I'm sitting in one room with a landlady that's fucking pissing me off, and I'm sitting in here for about 3 years in this one room when I've been used to all my life being in the house, and it's hard. It's hard to take. It is, to me, it's hard to take. I broke down in 2016. Everyone knows I went missing. I broke down. I ended up on sleeping in airports.
Some of us make the headlines when we go missing. Not us, Al, but some of us. Some of us make the headlines.
I don't know. I don't even know why it made a headline. To be honest, because I'm no different to you or anyone else. I was surprised.
No, I know.
But anyway, that's what it is. I went missing. And then after a while, when my daughter decided, and I don't blame her. She's got her family. She's got she's got a husband and she's got kids to think about. She decided to that she didn't want me around anymore. And you know, I don't hate her. I still love them. I love them all. You know, I'm still love them all. But that's what saddens me about the whole thing. You know, and I just want peace, really, with it all. I wish that one day we could have peace. I pray for peace. I don't want any money. I don't want a penny. I don't want a penny off on that. And that, to be honest with you, I don't want that. I just want peace. At the end of the day, that would help me a lot, actually, if I can have peace there.
And you can, mate.
It's the lifestyle I'm living. It's the lifestyle as well I'm living, and I'm trying to build myself up again. I want to move out of this piss hole. I don't want to be here all my life. I'm trying my best. I want to get out of this place I'm in at the moment. I don't like where I am, but it's a matter of time, and hopefully I'll get out before I see my maker. You know what I mean? So I just, as I say, it's not as bad as it was a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, there were times when I just didn't want to wake up in the morning. I don't feel like that bad now, so that's an improvement. So I don't know what to say.
That's fine. You're going through some stages, then, Claude. If Al, you know better than I do, but if he is starting to feel a bit better than say a couple of years ago, that's an indicator that he's going through some phases of some sort. There's a couple of before we crack on with that, there's a couple of very important things that people said in here.
The thing is, Lev, when you hit rock bottom, there's only one way up, isn't there? To be honest with you.
100%, Claude.
There's only a spot you do go, because when you hit rock bottom, you can't go any further. So maybe a little bit I'm climbing that one step or two steps. But it's still not sufficient.
You need to hit that rock bottom, though. If you don't hit that rock bottom, I mean, a couple of people in here, Dave Dundas come out with a really interesting part, which I'll throw into this discussion as well. Some people, for example, the older generations, they believe that maybe hiding things from youngsters was the way of protecting them, but then not always the right way. Now we found out, I mean, I found that out. Also, a regular of ours, Alison, I can't find her at the moment, but Alison did mention, and thanks for coming back on the show, Alison. I do remember you. We'll come to that in a minute, Alexander. Alison was saying that she feels guilt more than anything for 4 passings. Alexandra Gomez, super chat, $5. Thanks a lot for that. Claude in C is a lot of pain and extremely lonely. He needs company and constant counselling. He's a fantastic person and very likable. That he is. I think Claude is a lot stronger than what we think. And he's yes.
Sorry, mate. Just to say, Alexander, thank you very much for your contribution, because you made contributions in our other chat and all. And he said he's also an expert. So next time, we'd love to have you on next time, Alexander. I asked you to
drop me a little DM or something, Alexandra, at Levanja, and we'll sort that out, mate. There's a few going on in here. There's a few people in pain in here. Cheddar's, again, I've seen he's had these issues. Everyone's having issues, but what I want this show to show people is there is a light at the end of that tunnel. Look at Claude. In 2016, when Claude went through what he went through, if you had said to him he'd be sitting here 4 years' time with a new sort of improved channel of his and doing something different and being positive, despite being in those circumstances in his flat, he wouldn't have thought that, would he? So there's got to be some progression there, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Can I just that last chat you put out? I don't think the government the government help you. I don't think the government quite yet get mental health. So I'm sorry. That's my answer. That's the way I feel. I don't think the government respect mental health yet. I don't think
they don't. They definitely don't. I think there is people don't treat mental health with the seriousness it deserves. But I think now and moving forward, especially with what's going on right now, treating people with coronavirus is going to be one thing. The next backlog is going to be, you know, the people who have been suffering with mental health issues, and they're going to need some serious help.
Well,
and there's been so many people on here. I've made some notes. You know, Alison.
I mean, even when this coronavirus has come to an end, it's all a pick up from that's another thing to clear up, as you say, from the people that have suffered through it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's not the end. It's not the end. That's just the beginning. Because then you've got to pick up people that have lost people through it.
Yeah, 100%. And this is exactly the stuff that I've been talking about from the beginning. You know, this is why I love jumping on this channel, and I love jumping on here and helping people, because I know what the effects are going to be, not in the next few months, in the next year, 2 years, the backlog of this stuff, you know, of the people having to deal with, which is why I wanted to do this show. Do you understand now why I brought this stuff up? Because this stuff moving forward, people need to know this now. Like, you guys need to start applying this into your lives every single day and going through this process. It's not going to go, you know, it's not going to go away overnight. Lev talked about it, you know, Terry, Claude, everyone's mentioned, like, grief takes years sometimes. But the thing is, the last stage is the most important one, because, you know, we were talking about it earlier, it's about just acceptance, hope, and just creating, rebuilding. You know, Alison talked about, I made a couple of notes, Alison talked about feeling guilt for loss. And that's such a huge burden to carry, Alison, you know, and off the chat is probably, this is such a long conversation to have, but I often ask people, why do you feel guilty about it? You know, and a lot of the times it goes back to what we were talking about, Lev, you know, and guys, about the denial and isolation, or we go down to the bargaining part. Oh, what if only? And that's where guilt then starts to kick in, and you know, we wish we just had that little bit more time with those people, you know. And God, who doesn't? You know, who doesn't? I wish I had a few more hours with my grandmother, you know, to kind of have those conversations that we used to have. And I'm sure there's going to be people on here exactly the same. But I'm going to give you a real piece of reality right now. What about the people that are in your lives today? What about those people? What about your parents, your kids, your friends, your loved ones, your partners? What about them? And the reason I say this is, look, the people that come and go into our lives, they're there for a reason. They're there to teach us something. So as I said, and I'll continue to say it, learn from that experience, grow and develop from that. Take all of the positives, and that's where acceptance comes in. Acceptance, hope, and then just starting to then do something new. And what do you do when you lose somebody? What's the first thing? Like when Lev and I saw each other, where were we, Lev? At a funeral.
We healed at a funeral.
Do you see what I mean?
That's what we did.
And we are today. We're sat here. Lev said, "How would if somebody had turned around and said to me a few weeks, oh, you two are going to be sat doing a podcast together?" I'd be like, "Yeah, all right." Doubtful. But look, this is what I'm saying. Like, focus on the people that are in your lives, like the people that are in your lives, guys. And Claude was talking about his daughter and that relationship he lost. Dude, if you're in that much pain, call her. Call her after the show, FaceTime, and tell her how you really feel. Do you know what I mean? Like, put it out on the line.
I have called, she's not responding, mate. I've tried.
Keep calling. Keep calling. It doesn't matter. Keep calling. One day she'll pick up. Write her a letter. And then when this coronavirus disappears, go and knock on her door. Do you know what I mean? Because look, the most beautiful thing that we have in life is now. Do you know what I mean? The people that are in our lives are there for a reason. She had her reasons. Obviously, this is a completely separate conversation because I don't understand the background of it. But there is always a reason why all of these things happen for all of us. But the most important thing to take away from all of these things, Kirk mentioned having flashbacks, you know, and probably flashbacks, obviously, because the conversation went on, but having flashbacks, probably, you know, you know, memories, and we have so much of those, and that's where often we feel guilty. But again, turn those things into beautiful memories, things that are going to make you feel the positive emotions. And if they make you cry, they make you happy, then go through those emotions, because dealing with that stuff is what's going to help you to move forward with life. Because the more and more you keep getting stuck in the past, you're missing out on all of these incredible things, all of these incredible people that are in your life now. And
While
Yes.
we're talking about incredible people and beautiful people, I know that's a bit
Yes,
cheesy.
Melina.
But Melina, thank you very much. Super chat. Claude, you have been a beacon of hope when I was coping with my father's loss. Terry, Lev, Alex, Diesel, you guys have brought laughter and happiness during these times for us. Claude, we are with you, mate. So look, Melina, thank you for that. I mean, you're on every podcast we do. I really do appreciate your support, and you know we value you as well. But yeah, I mean, Alex, I think you've hit the nail on the head. Claude, I think he's right. I mean, you just got to you got to show persistence. You know, the time goes very quickly. But the great thing that you brought out of this as well for me, Alex, is preparing for the fallout of this situation. Anyone with mental health situations or issues or have suffered in the past are going to look at this and go, shit my job, shit my money, shit all these bills that have just piled up. Got to speak to everybody and say, look, you've got to wait. It's going to take me time to sort myself out. So if we can all start getting in the habit of taking on what Alex is saying from now, we will be better prepared for that future as well, that fallout. So, guys, I mean, Terry, I mean, you've been hearing what's going on. What do you think, mate?
No, I'm just want to say thank you for everyone in the comments, because what you've been putting down and sharing your problems with us is fantastic. And the best form of getting over stuff sometimes is talking about it. We don't talk enough in my eyes. Especially when we've got problems, and especially men too, because obviously that's why a lot of men have mental health issues, and statistically a lot of men commit suicide more. I'm not saying that's a competition or anything like that. I'm just saying
you don't want a suicide competition. Don't want that.
Men or women, you know what I mean? I don't mean it in any way like that. What I'm trying to say is that, men, we need to talk more. The more we talk, the more you get over things. And Alison, I see that comment earlier. And my brother-in-law died on Christmas Eve. My cousin's wife died 3 weeks later. So this year already, I've had 2 deaths. With all this that's going on in the world and all, I can feel your pain and why you're stressed and that. So, but the best thing is just talking. For me, it's just talking and trying to. I know it's awful to say, but trying to enjoy what you have actually got. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because at any time or any day, it can all turn around in just a click of a finger. Yeah. One of us get this disease, unfortunately, and statistically at the moment, 51% that go in hospital and in a coma sort of thing are dying. So it's let's sort of appreciate what we've got at the moment. There's a lot worse things that could be happening. I'm not saying mental health is not finny, but we're alive, we're kicking. Let's fight every day, and let's try and get through it all together.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, look at it this way as well, Al. Right now, we've touched on Claude's situation, for example. I will be the person from the other side of the fence, and I would be.
Can I ask that
situation?
Go on. Can I ask that super chat there?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
He said, "Am I on meds?" Thanks for the super chat. Is Claude on meds at all? Might need whether. You know what? I take these pills. I do take my depression. I do take them. I don't know whether they do any good. I'm not sure.
What are you taking? Or what, I mean, Alex would know. What are you taking? What have they given you?
I don't think they do any. I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding. They say it helps.
Know what it is that they're giving him, Al, because they actually have.
It's something beginning with a C. I can't understand. I can't. I don't know. I'll get the thing up a minute.
He's going to go and get the box. Live. You're seeing this live. Coming live over to you now.
I can't even say it's Clipperon or something like that. I don't know. I can't even pronounce it. It begins with a C.
Is it sertraline?
Hey?
Lucy's got it. Sertraline? Or citalopram?
Citalopram.
Yeah. Citalopram. Sounds like sit on a
That's
front.
it.
If anyone knows anything about it, I don't know anything about it. If anyone knows anything
That's what
about
I take
Lucy,
it,
if you've got
That's
info
what
for us
I
on
take at
it.
the moment. So I don't know. I take it every day. So along with my blood pressure pills.
Yeah, I think listen, for the time being, Claude, my advice with stuff like that is, follow the doctor's advice. But because I'm not a doctor, so I never want to prescribe or unprescribe anybody around this stuff. But what I can do and what I am professionally, paid to do is to help people from a not organic. What's the word? The word's escaping, but without drugs, basically, is to kind of help people overcome these things naturally, which is what.
Homeopathic? Is that the word you're looking for? Homeopathic?
No. It'll come to me. Holistically, that's it. Holistically, yeah. Thank you. Holistically. Cheers, brother. So holistically helping people to get through this stuff. And listen, there has been people that I've worked with in addiction, mental health, so on and so forth, where they were taking stuff, and then eventually, because they started to put other things into practice, they went to their doctors, and the doctors then said, actually, we can take you off. I can never suggest whether somebody should or shouldn't, and if they've given you that call, then go by what the doctors have said. But practice the stuff that I've suggesting. Keep practicing that stuff every single day, because that stuff will trigger in your brain the things that you need, the right chemicals in your brain to uplift you and to get you out of that depression. One of the things that helps with depression, which I've mentioned time and time again, is gratitude. And I'll mention this now, and I'll tell you why. I read an article the other day where somebody said, where have all the homeless people gone? Where have they gone? We've got a coronavirus that is going to be killing tons of people. All of a sudden, where have they gone? Where are they going to stay? Because everything's been shut. Apparently, all of the like temporary houses and stuff like that, overnight accommodations. Apparently, according to what was said in this, it's all shut. If anybody knows any different, then please let me know. But that was a huge one.
They're in hotels, travel lodges, and Premier Inns and all that. The government have asked them to stay open to let them in there.
Oh, thank God for that. Well, there you go. See, and the reason
who's making them hygienic and cleaning them? Who's doing that? That's a big old job.
Go in afterwards. The government have to pay for it to have a proper clean out, wouldn't they? But
very quickly, Al, Alexander Gomez, another super chat. Claude, those meds take time to kick in. I think you guys were saying Alexander is an expert himself, weren't you? Claude, those meds take time to kick in. You can't go off them. If you do, symptoms get worse. Alexander, if you've got any more info on them, let us know. We'll try and get you on a show in the coming weeks, mate. As I said, drop us a DM. Sorry, Al. Go on, carry on, mate.
No, that was just, we were talking about, the depression, and that's where huge gratitude kicked in for me, man, because I thought, you know what, whether I'm living in a studio, in a room, in a one bedroom, it doesn't matter. Having a roof over your head, man, that's something to be grateful every single day. Every single day, because and that's what kind of just got me worried, because we're lucky that we even have access to this stuff. You know what I mean? That we're here and these people are listening to the message, and there's going to be thousands and probably more people that are going to listen to this moving forward. This stuff's going to stick around forever. So that's where gratitude really kicks in, and practicing that every single day. Just writing down, Claude, 5 to 10 things that you're grateful for every single day. I guarantee you, man. Guarantee you, promise, in my heart, I say this to every single one of my clients, I have never given anybody their money back for nothing, because I say, you practice this stuff. This is why it works every single time. The only time it doesn't work for people is when they don't do it. But as soon as you start putting things into practice, everything changes. And this goes for everybody, And the reason I'm saying it now, and the reason why I was so keen to jump on here, because I can see already what the ripple effect of this is going to be in the next 6 months to a year, probably even longer.
Massive.
Exactly. My worry is, as we were talking about, the people who don't get to go to their families' funerals and stuff like that, like the ripple effects of this stuff is
not having the ripple effect of people in NHS. working in the NHS, the depth that they would have seen and the work that they would have had to go through and almost putting their emotions aside. I've said it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If there's anyone on the NHS, we'd love to hear from you. I'd love to get one of you great guys on the show so we can find out how it's going from your, please, anyone out there knows anyone from the NHS who's got some time on a Sunday, 7 o'clock next week, we'll happily have them on the show to talk about these things.
The only problem I say with that is obviously they're probably on the front line at the moment and probably spending as much time as they can with their family when they're off. That's the only.
Yeah, absolutely. But not everyone's going to have family, mate. There's going to be people that they're in their little studio flats or whatever, and maybe they've got some downtime. I don't expect anyone to go away from their family. What I was going to say about Claude, for example, with his situation with his daughter, I was probably on his daughter's side of the fence when it was happening with me and my father when we fell out, right? So this is why I wanted to share this, because I thought it could help. And if I could go back now, after my father passed away, guilt, I should have spoken to him. I should have sorted it out. I should have healed it. It was, when you think about the reasons that we argued now, it is so stupid, but it was so important at the time. But when that person's no longer around, it's super important. You think I should have fixed it. And I would say your daughter is probably deep down, Claude, feeling the same. If she doesn't fix it, she will regret it. So I think Alex's advice to keep plugging away with that one is massive, because deep down you're still her dad, and deep down she will have a space for you. And that's how I see it, being from that opposite side of the fence. If that helps, then I hope it does. But I think you should persist, mate. I really do.
Yeah. You can only persist, and things will hopefully one day will sort itself out.
I'm sure it will, mate. I wish you all the best with that one. And you just got to keep going, mate. You just got to keep going.
Yeah, man. Listen, one of the things I did a TED Talk over a year ago, and I was talking about a journey to your future self. And in that, I talked about my experience. I talked about my life, what happened to me when I went into addiction and tried to commit suicide, had the overdoses and everything else. And I remember I listened to somebody's story, and I kind of took something that they said from that, and I put it into my TED Talk. And I remember the description was, I just wanted to die, man. I just didn't want to be here. That was literally when I pulled the plug in life, and I just I'm done, literally done. That was me. And I remember coming into recovery, and I heard this story, and the story was, one day we're all going to die. We talked about this. This is, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. And this person, when they were talking about the story, it hit me so badly. Like, I got so emotional by it that I had to talk about it myself and put this into my own story. That what they said is that they had this vision of them standing, at the gates of, whether you're religious or not, it doesn't matter, at the gates of heaven, the universe, wherever it is, in front of God, Jesus, whoever you believe in. But it's standing in heaven once you've passed, and you're standing there, and all of a sudden somebody starts to approach you, and that person is you. And you get to meet two versions of yourself. You get to meet the version of who you were meant to be. And I truly believe, as soon as I heard that, I went, wow, like I get goosebumps now. You're standing, you die, you've lived your life here, and all of a sudden you get to the gates of heaven, and they introduce you to who you were meant to be. The person you were meant to be. And here's the question to every single person here: Lev, Claude, Terry, everybody that's on the chat, these were everybody. Here's the thing: who do you want to meet when you take your last breath? Do you want to take every single one of your regrets with you? And this is a completely different. We can do a podcast on this, because I've got some stuff to talk to you guys about regret and stuff like that.
Do it next week. Do it next week.
Yeah, and I'm telling you now, guys, like, this is why I say to people, do not waste your life. Like, stop wasting time on dumb shit. Stop wasting time on things about your past. Stop worrying about things that you cannot change. And the reason I say that is because you're missing life. Lucy turned to me the other day. She went, it's been like 3 weeks now we've been in quarantine. I went, wow, that much already? 3 weeks is gone. We're in April, guys. Like, it's going to be May soon. So this is what I'm saying. Like, this is how quickly time flies. And the reason I'm sharing that is when you take your last breath, do you want to sit there and go, man, remember going back to bargaining? I wish I would have said that. I wish I would have done this. I wish. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. There's another book, and we can talk about this. The number one, the woman wrote a book, and I'll find out the name and I'll share it. Go and read the book. It's about the things that people regret, like all of the regrets that people have just before they pass away. This woman worked with thousands and thousands of people. These people had like 60 days to live. So they were terminal. And she started to find out all of their regrets. And the number one regret people have is not living the life they wish they would have lived. And this is the reason why I'm so fucking passionate about this stuff. This is why I said to you, Claude, just keep calling her. Go and bang on the window. Go write a letter. People on here, like Cheddar said about his dad not wanting him. Who cares? And I mean that, Cheddar, from the bottom of my heart, because you sound like you're an amazing guy. And if he doesn't want to be with you, then that's his fault. It's his decision. Yeah. His decision. Now, here's the thing, guys. Every decision you make, every single thing you say or don't say, once you take that last breath, you cannot change that. And this is why I really wanted to talk about this, because that's the positive power of this stuff, is that the things you can do in life is phenomenal. And the only person that stops you from doing this is you. Nobody else is stopping you.
That's a brilliant point, Al. Brilliant point. I mean, do you know what? We could touch on that next week. I'd really want to go into that in more detail. I mean, obviously, there's only so much we could cram in. It's almost an hour and a half. I mean, so I think we'll look at wrapping it up. But what I will say to everyone is this, from what I've taken from this, and I'd like to hear very briefly everyone else in here what they think. What I've taken from this, and I will think what everyone in the chat room should take from this as well, and everyone viewing, stop living with regrets. Stop looking outside to blame others for your current situation. Take ownership. So let's all start taking ownership of what's going on around us. Ignore the negative, like the Cheddars of this world, people like that. You can't, like Alex said, you can't change that. Focus on what you can control and what you can change. These are things that we've been saying over the last few weeks. Focus on what you have control over. Do not waste time. Do not waste life. Claude's got his problem with his family. I've got problems with mine. Whatever issues you guys have got.
I think everyone has got issues somewhere.
Yeah, of course, we all have.
Yeah. I think every person's got issues where no one is perfect.
We all have. So this is the time. This is the time. Rectify them if you can. This is your time. What else have we got to do?
I'm sure this has really helped a lot of people, even people in the chat tonight. It's helped them a lot tonight. And I hope it has helped people in the chat tonight. If you've got issues, and I hope these things have gone through to you. And because we've all got something on our minds. We've all got something going on in our lives that we want fixing. And I'm sure an hour and a half with Alex has done us a lot of good tonight. And thank you again, Alex, for coming on tonight and giving us an hour of your time. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And you're going to next week. You can go on about. You was going to go on towards the end. You was telling me about. You could do a podcast. What was you talking about right at the end? You're saying you could do a podcast and something else.
Oh, so the story I was talking about, the story I was talking about is which life we can kind of end on, and a book that I looked at is I have to remember the name, but it's kind of like the regrets of the dying or something like that. I'll have to remember which one it is, and just the points that was made in that book, we could do a podcast based on that. There were certain things that I talked about. I think Keith mentioned about being addicted to milk. You're not addicted to milk, Keith. You're addicted to sugar. That's what you're addicted to.
Some addictions, but milk addiction is a new one for me.
Now, this is
We'll bring that up next week. Yeah, we'll bring that up next week.
100%. I am more than happy to talk to you guys about addiction. And if anything, I'll do it at home, and I'll bring Lucy as well, because Lucy's she's just finished.
It'd be nice to get Lucy. Yeah,
I'll get Lucy on the show next week.
I was going to suggest I'd like to get Lucy on. It'd be nice to put a face to all the comments and say hi to her. So yeah, we'll do that.
Also would be a bit more attractive thing on the show. I want something nice to look at.
Oh, that's Al's missus, by the way. I'm not getting involved in this conversation.
I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is, I'm sure Alex is saying he's punching above his weight there.
Oh, he's taking it there, Al. He's taking it there.
Alex, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. She's a very lucky man. She's very. I've seen her in the chat. She's putting some very good points across.
Yeah,
and it'd be nice to have her on.
Listen, I say this open-heartedly, man. I love that woman more than anything. She saved my life. If it wasn't for her, I would not. Trust me. That's why I married her.
Exactly.
Maybe we could tell us that story one day too, Alex.
It's probably safe.
I'll tell you what. If we do the transition, we'll tell you the story then.
No, Alex, it's probably also meeting her has probably saved you a lot, your life more than anything, isn't it?
100%. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I want you to save some for next week. So just hold on to that stuff, yeah? And let's bring it next week. As I say, stop wasting time, everyone. Stop, sort out your issues now with your families if you've got anything outstanding. Terry, is there anything final you'd like to add before we go?
I'm just going to say I probably won't do next week's show because the topic that you're going to talk about is what I struggle with, unfortunately.
Which is?
Dying. I probably would have to speak to Alex and obviously your wife about that separately. But for me personally, that's something I've got a fear of. So, and
if you want to control it here or try and resolve it together, we can. Yeah, if not,
I control, Alex. Like you're saying, I try and keep things like, you know what I mean, where you say that you take things and control it and control the situation. But with that topic, you can't control it because, as you say, everyone. So
I'll tell you
fear
what.
of death. That's a good one. A fear of death.
Let me just tell you something, Tal, that's going to help you, right? I did a regression therapy session earlier this year in January, right? Never thought I could be hypnotized or anything like that, and I'll touch on it more. But let me tell you something now, brother. I died 3 times during that session because you have to. That's the process you go to. Let me tell you something now. It is the most incredible experience I have ever had in my life. The healing I got from the process, what I learned from it, and which is why I keep saying to you guys, you will hear me saying learning, growing, developing, learning, growing, developing. Dude, trust me, you have zero to fear. And the reason why I say to people now, the reason I bang on about now, like enjoy, live life now, stop this whole self-pity shit. I've seen a few people do it on here. Stop worrying about stuff you can't control. Stop, letting life go past you. Stop, resenting things. I did a live video today on Facebook and I said, contact somebody that you've had an argument with, don't take those things to the grave. And the reason, listen, guys, anybody else that has a fear, because somebody actually mentioned that kids shouldn't go to funerals. I completely disagree with that because it's a natural thing that we go through. We're born, we live, we die. It's a natural process of life. That's it. And the reason people go on, I think it's going to really affect you. We talk about this another time. But listen, guys, our parents, and especially anybody listen, I'll put my hand up to this. They fuck us up. They completely fuck us up with their own fears, their own insecurities, their own shit. And then what they do is, and then that then gets rippled effect with our grandparents and then, and then their parents. Listen, the ripple
like passing down the demons. Though. That's what that's what the Chinese call passing, sort of passing down the demons to the next generation. Your father, your grandfather didn't deal with their issues or their fears, and they inevitably pass that on. And it does happen because I've got similar fears to my father. I'm sure everybody, and do you know what? That's phobias and stuff. That's another show in itself, and we've got to do that, mate. We've got to do that show. But I want to try and hold back from everything because we've only got an hour and a half. You know, we usually got an hour. But I always speak an extra half hour. But guys, look, happy Easter to everyone at home. Hope you're having a lovely evening. I hope you're finding these sessions useful. If you want to contact us outside of this, you can get me at Levanja, but more importantly, Happy as Larry is Alex's organization. You can find that on Twitter. You can find Alex himself on Twitter. Do not feel any two ways of contacting and letting us know, or any subjects you want us to cover, let us know, right? Because we're here to help. There's a lockdown going on. We're in isolation. And the reason we're doing this, we're putting our hearts on the line to say, look, we're all in the same boat. We've all going through things. And if we can help people, then that's what we're here for. So thank you for everyone for coming on. Thanks for the guests. Thanks, Terry, for being on. Thanks, Claude, again, for sharing your personal stuff. I know it's not easy. And Al, the guru, thank you, mate. And we'll talk later, and we'll sort out. We'll get Lucy on. Maybe we can have it. You know, be nice to meet her and say hi to her, even if it is in isolation mode. And again, guys, thank you very much. Tune in next week. Mind matters. And happy Easter.
Listen, I've got to sort something out. Here's that one.
Take care.
See that one, Alex.